Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get Research Savvy with Nexis Uni. My name is Caitlin Hennessy. I'm the program coordinator at Global Connections. And tonight joining us is Mary Gillis. She's from the WSU Libraries. And you'll also see momentarily Erica England in the chat as well. She's also a librarian with the WSU Libraries, as well as the Global Campus Library Liaison. And tonight, as many of you are already doing, please use the chat box to ask questions. You can also discuss content or share anything that you have as well. And Erica will answer questions in the chat. And then if there's anything that needs to be directed to Mary, she'll be taking a Q&A at the end. And if you do have any technical difficulties, please let me know in the chat. I'll do my best to help you. We're going to turn it over to Mary now. Thank you all so much for coming.
I'm Mary Gillis. I'm the Business and Economics Librarian at WSU, and I'm delighted to join you to discuss Nexis Uni. Nexis Uni is a new full-text database from LexisNexis and replaces LexisNexis Academic. Nexis Uni provides most of the legal, news, and company information that was available in LexisNexis Academic, plus new content. Nexis Uni addresses three key components requested by millennial students: personalization, collaboration, and quick discovery. This webinar will provide basic information on searching, retrieving, and saving documents in Nexis Uni. At the library's homepage, libraries.wsu.edu, enter Nexis Uni in the search box and click Search. Click Online Access for the first result, and then click WSU Miscellaneous Databases. Researchers will probably need to authenticate with their WSU network ID and password at some point in that process. Nexis Uni can be used in anonymous mode, but the self-registration option allows researchers to create a Nexis Uni account so they can save searches, documents, and notes, and share them with other researchers. Users can also set up alerts and view search history. Now, a Nexis Uni account is different from a WSU network ID and password. I was already practicing, so I'm already signed in. And once you see hi and your name, you'll know that you're logged in. I'm going to open the pull down next to my name, and this is the area where you can personalize Nexis Uni. Now you see that little blue dot, it says notifications. That's a notification to me from LexisNexis. I did a search earlier today and tried to send a large file. It didn't go. So I got a notification. I need to take care of it. I'm not going to open those areas. You can explore them on your own, but that's where you personalize Nexis Uni. If I open up Tips under the large search, I see suggestions for creating a search. I also see frequently asked questions. Up in the top right, Help provides links to more extensive information on using Nexis Uni. I suggest you take a look at both of these areas, Tips and Help, before beginning to search Nexis Uni, especially if you haven't used LexisNexis Academic. Before doing searches, let's review the categories of content types in Nexis Uni. I'm going to open the pull down over on the right. These are the types of resources available in Nexis Uni. Cases are decisions of federal and state courts, including the U.S. Supreme Court. Federal and state statutes and legislation are laws and bills. Law reviews and journals are the professional literature in law. Administrative materials are rulings and decisions of federal and state agencies, such as the Environmental Protection Agency. Briefs, pleadings, and motions are related to court decisions. Federal and state administrative codes and regulations are the rules implemented by agencies such as the EPA. News includes thousands of news publications, plus news transcripts, industry trade publications, magazines, and blogs. Legal news are non-scholarly legal publications. Company and Financial provides information on millions of public and private companies, and directories provide information on individual people. There are several search options in Nexis Uni, and they're duplicative to a great extent. There's a Google type search at the large word search. There's an advanced search. And then there's this search area down here, which I call sort of a guided search. I heard a segment on NPR recently about the NAFTA renegotiation and Canada's wine industry. I'm interested in exploring that. I want to do a broad search because there may not be a lot of information available on this topic. I'll do the search across all of Nexis Uni at the Google type search. I'll enter NAFTA, renegotiation, in quotes so that it's searched as a phrase, and wine. At the results display, let's take a look at what we've got. Up next to the search terms is a bell. If I open that, I can create an alert so that I get a notification if other documents relating to this topic are published. The Actions pull down enables me to add this search to a folder, to run the search as natural language, include legal phrase equivalents, or link to this page. Over on the right are the view options. The default is the full view. Or you can select a title view where you get just the title of the article. The sort by default is relevance, but I could change that to document title or date newest to oldest or date oldest to newest. The group duplicates enables me to eliminate various versions of the same article. If I open that pull down, I can select off. So now we have 49 results. And if you look at the first two, they look very similar. I can select high similarity, which eliminates some of the duplicates. We're down to 31. Or I can select moderate similarity. I'm not interested in looking at any of the duplicates. Let's move on to the print, etc. tool bar. I can select all items on this page and then print or download. I can move the results list to a folder. I can print results. Let me get rid of that. I can email results. I can download. I can send them to Dropbox, or I can send them to Google Drive. It's possible to send the full text documents for one page of a display at one time. It's possible to download up to 250 result displays at one time, but you can't download 250 full documents. This is a limitation with Nexis Uni, and LexisNexis is working on trying to improve the capability to download or print large files. Let's move over to the left part of the display. We see the categories of content types and the filters. So our search retrieved 2 statutes or limitation type publications. These are actually reports from the Congressional Research Service, whose job is to provide research to Congress. There's one law review article that was published in 2012 and the 29 news articles. We could narrow by the filters. We could search within the results. We could limit by location of the publication. We could limit by publication type, subject, industry, geography, which is the area of the world that's actually dealt with in the results documents. We've got a timeline. We see negative news, which is a device developed by LexisNexis. This is when a term or phrase appears in a document and it appears in the same paragraph with one or more negative terms as identified by LexisNexis. We can identify sources, practice areas and topics, people, and keywords. So searching all of Nexis Uni is appropriate when a researcher is working on a newly emerging topic or one for which not much has been published. Another reason to search all of Nexis Uni is to identify when a term or phrase first appeared in publications. The earliest newspaper coverage in Nexis Uni is 1970. The earliest news wires and press releases appeared in 2000. Let's search the word metrosexual. We got over 10,000 news results. We got some other results too, but I'm particularly interested in the news results. Our default sort is relevance. I'm going to open that up and select date oldest to newest. So the word metrosexual first appeared in the publications included in Nexis Uni in November of 1994. So Nexis Uni can be used to track when a particular word entered publications. Let's take a look at the advanced search. We can search everything at the advanced search just like we did at the Google search. So I could search NAFTA renegotiation and wine here at the advanced search and I would get the same results. If we look at the display, the top part is for the terms that will be included in the search. The bottom part is for segments or fields of the document. And these vary depending upon the type of resource. I'm going to select a specific content type. I want to select news. And I'm interested in looking for articles that deal with the introduction of menus at Starbucks restaurants. We see that the document segments and fields have changed to reflect the fact that I selected news. We have a sample over on the right that we could open up, which will identify what these terms mean. I'm going to enter Starbucks in the headline because I want to be sure that all the articles deal with Starbucks. I'm also going to enter the exact phrase, new menu. Add that to the search and do the search. We retrieved 253 results. Our sort is by relevance. I could change that to latest to earliest. You'll note that the word Starbucks appears in the title of each of the articles, and the search terms appear in are highlighted in the full text. Let's move on to the guided search area. Here, a researcher selects a part of Nexis Uni and can do a quick search in that part. So you don't have to open anything, you don't have to go anywhere else. You can just select one of these parts, do a quick search, and get some results. Again, if I did the search NAFTA renegotiation and wine at this part of Nexis Uni, limited to news, I would get the same news results I got from the Google type search. I want to search K-12 education funding in Washington State. Now, I could search this topic up in the Google type search. I could also open the advanced search and search it there. But I want to focus on one type of resource at a time. So I'm going to run the search in news, cases, law reviews, and a publication. Obviously not in company information. I'll enter K-12 education and funding and Washington State Okay, so I'm going to search all available dates. We're in the news part of Nexis Uni. We got 2,060 articles. Now, I really want to focus in on the articles that were published in Washington State publications. So I'm going to open up the location pull down, select Washington, and now I have 127 articles that were published in publications from Washington State. So you see Spokesman Review, the Columbian from Vancouver, and if we moused down further, we would see other Washington publications. So you can narrow a large group of results by using the filters over on the left. Let's look for cases. I'm going to select state cases, enter Washington, click Washington, enter, oops, funding, and I'm sorry this is so laborious, and and click Search. We retrieved two cases, and the first one, McCleary versus State, a 2012 Washington State Supreme Court case, is the ruling by the Supreme Court of Washington declaring that the state of Washington was not sufficiently funding K-12 education, and it mandated that the legislature remedy the situation. The other case is relevant in some fashion. I haven't opened it. I'm going to open up McCleary versus State. We've got the decision itself with the search terms highlighted, and over on the right is additional information about the case. I'm not going to go into detail about that additional information. Just be aware that it is available and it is valuable. I'm going to go back out to our search. Let's select Law Reviews. We'll do the same search again. I'm going to open the time range and select from 2011 to the present. The case was decided in 2012, so I'm going to go back a little earlier than that. We retrieved 60 law review and law journal articles. And the first one was published in the Washington Law Review. This is the law review from the University of Washington Law School. No surprise. The second one was from the Seattle University Law Review. And there are other law reviews included. If I open up jurisdiction, we see, somewhat to my surprise, that 10 articles were published in law reviews and journals in New York, even though the topic is a Washington State topic. If I select Washington, we can narrow the results to those law reviews that are published in Washington. So I could look at those first if I wanted to. I'm going to go back out to the search. I want to search to see if this topic has been dealt with in Education Week. This is a weekly newspaper of record for elementary and secondary education. So again, let me get my end corrected there. And in the Find Publications section, I'm going to begin typing Education Week. And you'll see that titles begin to appear down below. Education Week. You have to select the title from the word wheel or it won't work. So let's see if there are any articles in Education Week on K-12 education funding in Washington State. And there are 28. So with this collection of results from news articles, cases, law reviews, and Education Week, I've made a good start at pulling together resources to research the topic of K-12 education and funding in Washington State. Now, the other part of the guided search is this company information section. I'm going to open that up. Ordinarily, I would enter the name of a company and then select either all company information, company profile, analyst report, mergers and acquisitions, or SEC filings. Now, SEC filings are reports that publicly traded companies submit to the Securities and Exchange Commission. They contain a lot of helpful information about companies. I'm not going to do a search here because right now this part of Nexis Uni is not working properly. And I've reported it to LexisNexis, and I hope they get it resolved pretty soon. But ordinarily, you could search for company information at this point as well. Let's move down to the topic areas. There are 3 of them: business, criminal justice, and political science. In each of these topic areas, there's selected recent news for that area. Here in business, obviously, it's going to be business news. Featured publications in business, recent Supreme Court opinions, and recent law review articles. So if you want current awareness type information on one of these 3 topic areas, just open up that area and there's new content every day. On the right, we have a company search form, and if I open that pull down, I can look for company information and executive profile or SEC filings. Now, fortunately, this part of Nexis Uni is working properly. So I'm going to enter Starbucks, one of my favorite companies to search. And we got over 10,000 results. Now, this is ridiculous. I could either take a look at a few of the most recent results, or I can limit. And I am definitely going to limit. So I'm going to come over to the left and open the sources pull down. I'm going to select market line because this series of company profiles are really great. Now I need to mouse down the display until I get to the Starbucks Corporation, the main corporation. You'll see all of these are Starbucks, but the one I'm after is the parent company. Over on the right is a table of contents. So in this report, we get an overview of the company, business description, history, key employees, company view, meaning how they view themselves, a SWOT analysis, which deals with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to the company, competitor analysis, and major products and services. So from my perspective, this part of Nexis Uni is useful if you look at either the first few results or you look to see if there's a report such as the market line company profile. The other thing that annoys me about this part of Nexis Uni is you have to wade through a list regardless of how narrow you sort your results. Okay, back over here on the right, I want to look for an executive profile. I'll type in Jeffrey Bezos, who is always in the news. And these results are from those directories that we saw initially in the list of types of resources available in Nexis Uni. Well, let's open up this one. Okay, this is from Zoom People Information, and there are a lot of links here. I'm not sure how helpful this one's going to be. Some of these are more helpful than others, but that's the way it works. Okay, back in business here, I'll open the pull down one more time and select SEC filings. Again, Starbucks. And now we see reports that Starbucks has submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission. I'm going to change the sort to newest to oldest because I'm most interested in looking at recent reports, and we see that the most recent report is from October the 30th, 2017. I can open that up. I'm not going to go down through it, but here we've got the exhibits for report 10. So that's a review of what's available over on the right side of the business topic area. Let's move over to company dossier. Includes lots of company directories, and it includes millions of companies, publicly traded companies and private companies. So what can we do here at Company Dossier? We can find a company, we can create a company list, or we can compare companies. Now, by compare companies, we can enter the names of 5 different companies and pull out the same information for each of those companies quickly so that we can compare assets, we can compare debt, we can compare various aspects of the companies. I'm going to go back over to find a company, and we can search for a company by company name or by region or by cities. So I'll search Starbucks. And fortunately, in this part of Nexis Uni, and there are 8,148 companies with Starbucks in the name, but fortunately, the parent company shows up first. They do a good job. Alrighty, so what do we have? We've got the address. It is a public company and the parent. The address is for the headquarters, and there's an ID, a dossier ID number, which no one will remember. So let's open that up. Okay, so here we see the type of company, we see the ticker symbol, the exchange it's traded on, the number of employees, the fortune ranking, a link to the website, the industries in which this company functions, and I'm going to open up all classifications. So we see that Starbucks actually functions in 2 different industries. They are in the snack and non-alcoholic beverage bar industry, and they are also in, well, they call it all other specialty food stores, but they also manufacture, and they manufacture coffee and tea. So they actually function in 3 different industries, and this is not unusual. So let me see if the little back key works. Excellent. Alrighty, we've got a business description here, and we could do a search to find companies by entering words that appear in the business description. The auditors listed over on the right. We've got stock quotes and charts, company financials, the executives, executive changes, And over on the left, we've got links to lots more information about Starbucks. Current News will pull up news articles on Starbucks from Nexis Uni, from the news sources in Nexis Uni. So I can retrieve lots of very recent articles. Here's one from Australia, dated November the 1st. We can look at the brands that Nexis Uni has. We can look at their competitors, company hierarchy, a financial overview, and this financial overview is really detailed. So we can jump to the assets, liabilities, income, cash flow, balance sheet, ratio analysis, stock information, and products. We've got a wealth of information here right at this single report. We can select SEC filings and focus in on a particular type of filing. We can select analyst reports. These are reports by analysts who evaluate investment options or opportunities in the company. We can look at legal, recent cases. We would see a lot of those for Microsoft. Intellectual property. We can look at their patents and trademarks. Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay, so these are some of the trademarks that Starbucks has. And so we've just got a wealth of information available on Starbucks. Now, obviously, if we were searching a private company, we wouldn't find nearly that much information. But millions of private companies are included in company dossier. We can create a company list. So I want to find out which other public companies in the US manufacture tea and coffee. So I'm going to enter industry number, and we could look that up here if we needed to. And I'm going to limit to the US. So we're going to create a list. There are 27 companies. There are 27 public companies in the US in the same industry. Starbucks is one of them, obviously. We already knew that. I'm going to click Customize and then click Update. And now we see all 27 companies. This includes Farmers Brothers, Dunkin' Brands, Seattle Coffee, and Folgers Coffee Company. So we can do lots of different searches here in Company Dossier. Okay, so that's Company Dossier. Let's go back out to the landing page. Let's take a quick look at criminal justice. Again, we've got recent news, recent Supreme Court decisions, featured publications, and over on the right, we can search for laws. We can search for federal laws or state laws. I'm going to search for marijuana laws in Washington State. So I'll enter Washington. Click Washington, enter marijuana, and find. There are 61 laws in Washington state dealing with marijuana. These include tribal marijuana tax, excise taxes on the retail sale of marijuana, marijuana, usable marijuana, transportation or delivery of marijuana, opening package of or consuming marijuana. So we see that the marijuana laws in Washington state cover a lot of different areas: food and drug, taxes, and other areas. So Washington state passed a lot of laws before legalizing marijuana. Some of these results may well deal with medical marijuana, but a lot of them are probably related to recreational marijuana. Okay, I'm going to go back out to the landing page. Let's open up political science. Again, we've got recent news, featured publications, recent Supreme Court decisions. And here in the political science topic area, we can search for bills. Now, these are the guys that precede laws. These are the proposed legislation introduced to Congress or a state legislature, and it moves on through the process. I'm going to select State, Washington. We'll focus on the current session of the Washington legislature, and we'll take a look at the proposed legislation dealing with marijuana. So in this session of the legislature, there were 81 bills introduced regarding marijuana. I'm going to open up the first one. We've got the text of the bill, and over on the right, we can click Bill Tracking. Now, this provides a history of the bill. So we have the date it was introduced, the committee it was forwarded to, and other actions related to the bill. If the bill had been passed, we would see a law, we would see that it had been signed by the governor. There's two other areas of Nexis Uni that I want to quickly review. One is Get a Doc Assistance. I'm going to open that up. This area provides access to documents with a legal citation, and it enables people to find cases by party name or document number. So I'm going to look for a case or a document by citation. So I'm going to select Cases. I'm going to select a jurisdiction of Washington. I'll select the source, which in this instance would be Washington Report's second series, because that is the publication that reports Supreme Court decisions in Washington. I'll enter the volume number and the page. Click Get a Document. And now we have that McCleary versus State Supreme Court decision, Washington State Supreme Court decision. This is the case that informed the legislature that Washington State was not adequately supporting K-12 education. If I go back out and select case by party name, I can enter, McCleary, State, Washington, and in this instance, we got 4 documents. We've got the original decision by the Supreme Court. We have an earlier appeals court decision. And then we have 2 other documents from the Supreme Court providing direction to the state legislature, and one of them declares that the state is and now I cannot remember the name, contempt. The state is in contempt of the court. So we've got all 4 of those. The last area over here is cases by docket number. Most people don't have a docket number. You probably won't use this part very much. Use the citation part. If you've got a citation, use the cases by name part if you have the names of the parties involved in the case. The other thing I want to note is up here under menu. If I select all sources, we see a display of all the publications and sources that are included in Nexis Uni. So we could browse these, or I could come over and search so that I could find out for sure whether a particular publication is included in Nexis Uni. So I'm going to enter Washington Law Review and go down and click on Washington Law Review. Click the little magnifying glass. We've got 2 titles that have those words, Washington Law and Review. Over on the right, if I open up that lowercase I, now I have information about the publication, including dates of coverage. Not all law reviews are available full text in LexisNexis back to Volume 1. And we see that the Washington Law Review is only available full text from Volume 58 forward. So keep that in mind if you get 0 hits when you're searching the title of an article from a law review. If you get 0 hits, look up the law review and see what the dates of coverage are. Okay, to summarize, Nexis Uni has several different search areas. The area to select depends on how broadly you want to search within all of Nexis Uni, how quickly you want results, or how narrowly you want to construct your search. And you can personalize Nexis Uni and share results with others. So I realize we're almost out of time, but if people have questions, I'll be glad to deal with them.
Hi, Mary. Thank you so much for your presentation. We do have a couple questions, and if anyone has additional questions, please type them into the chat box now. But one question is, what does run as normal language mean, or natural language in the search function?
Well, when you use Boolean operators and connectors such as and, within, that's considered terms and connectors approach to searching. Natural language is where you kind of just state your topic and then Nexis Uni interprets it. So you can use natural language, and what it refers to is how you would normally talk. But you need to select that search type if you want to use it. I hope that makes sense. Maybe the person can
Thank you so much, Mary. Our next question is, what does negative term mean in the Nexis Uni search? So this was earlier in your presentation when you were saying you could have it look for negative terms.
Right. Okay. Nexis Uni includes what they have defined as negative news. Now, this is an article where the person's name or the name of a company or the name of a country appears in the same paragraph with one or more negative terms. And the negative terms are identified by LexisNexis. So I'm not familiar with a lot of those, but one might be convicted or charged, that type of negative term.
Excellent. Thank you, Mary. And those are all the questions we have now. But I want to thank you for taking the time to present tonight. And I hope everyone who came, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys. Bye.